Hi everyone, so today's lesson is on expanding brackets using the grid method but with negatives. Now on yesterday we looked at describing an array that involves negatives. Okay, so it's no different to that really, except we're going to transfer it into the grid method like we did in last week's lessons. So what we're going to do first of all is we are going to explain and write down what this means here, okay, and then we're going to put it into the grid so that you can show the workings through that way so that we get the total of the array. Okay, so first of all, obviously we need to write down what we have got here. Remember, this 4 on the outside means the number of rows. So what I've got here is 4 rows of x minus 5. So there's x minus 5 in each row. Okay, and if we think about how I showed that to you yesterday, okay, so we have our x here. Okay, so that's one row, and then we've got negative 5, which is 5 negative 1s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and you imagine that you've got 4 rows of that, like this, and then there'd be all of those there as well. Okay, so that would give me my total array. Now, if you wanted to do a little diagram like I've just done, so that you can double check your answer at the end, then of course. Okay, but you don't have to. So what we need to do is, so we write out the 4 rows of x plus 5, and then we're going to draw a grid so that we can show our workings to get to the answer. Okay, so we've got, on the outside is the number of rows here. Okay, along the top is what's in each row, so x. And this time we've got negative 5. And what we need to do is we need to jump back to think about what we did with negatives a few weeks ago. Okay, so in this first box, I multiply together 4 and x. 4 times x, which we all know is 4x. Okay, the next one, the numbers that I'm going to multiply together this time are 4 and negative 5. Now, if you remember what I said to you, we would do 4 times 5, which is 20. And then because one of them is a negative, it does the opposite, so the inverse of what it is. So it flipped it, so it became negative 20. Okay? Remember, if there were 2 negatives, it would flip back to being a positive. But we're not going to have that in the questions today, okay? So we've got negative 20 here. So our final answer is our 4x, and this time take away 20. Now, does this match my answer up here? Well, yes, it does. I've got 4 x's and I've got 20 negative 1s. So that is correct. Okay, let's have a look at the next one. This was one that I set you on Friday. So it was a little bit more tricky because I'd put an x on the outside and an x on the inside. Okay, and obviously I've thrown in a negative in this one as well. So this time I've got 3x and I've got 2x minus 7. Okay, so this basically means I've got 3 x's. Now this is where it gets confusing because I haven't got my algebra tiles. I'd have 3 x's going this way and I'd have 2 x's going this way. And what you end up doing is you fill in the gaps with the square tiles. Now I'm going to show you that next week perhaps, okay? And we'll have a look at doing some harder questions where we've got squares in. But don't worry about that too much today. So there's only going to be one question like this, I would think. So we've got 3x times 2x here. So what I do is I do the 3 times the 2 first, which gives me 6. And then I do x times x. And how I describe that is you're multiplying x by itself because you're multiplying by x. And when you multiply something by itself, it's called squared, isn't it? Okay, so this x times x is x squared. Okay, and the last part, 3x times negative 7. Now, let's pretend there's no x. So we've got 3 times negative 7. Well, 3 times 7 is our 21. And it's got 1 negative, so we flip it once. So we've got negative 21. And then because there's an x there, we have to put it on the end there. Okay? So our answer for this one is 6x squares take away 21x. Okay? Like I said, there's only going to be one harder question like this one today, but you're going to have a few of the simpler ones like this one to do. So have a go at the questions. Any problems, drop me a message.